NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Stress is a normal physical response to an event that makes you nervous.
Oga, open your fuel tank.
Hold on, please. Let me calm down.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hope you've rubbed off your meter.
Acting President Professor Shibaju assures motorists plying the Mokwa-Jeba-Ilori route that relief will come their way in 2 weeks.
Federal government summons Cameroonian ambassador to Nigeria over maltreatment of Nigerians in the Bakassi Peninsula.
Supreme Court dismisses PDP appeal challenging the election of Godwin Obaseki of the APC as duly elected governor of Edo State.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we examine the federal character principle, a tool for promotion of national integration or mediocrity.
Imagine this scenario. Mr. A, B, and C are being considered for a particular appointment in a government establishment. Based on merit, Mr. B obviously stands out as the man who is most qualified to do the job, but he is from a particular part of the country.
Now, in Nigeria of today, Mr. B is most likely going to be dropped, while Mr. A or C is chosen because of the consideration of balance and to avoid the domination, it is said, of one part of the country over the others in government establishments.
And this, to many watchers of the application of the federal character principle, is, without mincing words, very counterproductive for any nation that desires to move forward.
Now, Kyria, to the framers of the federal character policy or principle, which was introduced in the 1979 Constitution, and this was after the Civil War, the whole idea was to help promote national integration and to address the fears of sections of the country which felt that they had been marginalized.
And yes, Kingsley, it's entirely true, because the federal character principle was also designed to ensure that public service appointments reflect the country's diversity, religious, ethnic, geographical, and linguistic, and by extension, that resource allocation reflects the fact that this is a federal system and not a clan.
Now, the assumption is that if the public service is truly representative, this will promote a sense of national loyalty and inclusion. And indeed, Section 14 of the Constitution, as well as the third schedule thereto, spell out the principle in clear terms. And in 1996, a Federal Character Commission was established to ensure compliance with the provisions of the Constitution and relevant laws.
But according to many Nigerians, the principle has over the years promoted mediocrity within the public service and retarded national growth and progress.
It is indeed the general impression that the federal character principle, as applied currently, has resulted in the erosion of merit, and that the observed inefficiency in the bureaucracy is directly traceable to the federal character principle. And in other areas of national life, it has not necessarily, it has been argued, brought about better spread of opportunities.
And Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, in a recently published book titled Who Will Love My Country? Ideas of Building the Nigeria of Our Dreams, argued that champions of the use of federal character have rather used the principle to uplift mostly their kith and kin and at the expense of the larger population in their own ethnic groups.
Now, Ekweremadu also indicated that the fears of marginalization that had suppressed meritocracy in the recruitment into the public service were largely unfounded, as qualified Nigerians could be found in every part of the country.
And it is also said that the wrong application of federal character principle by the federal government and its agencies is drawing Nigeria backwards rather than propelling it to grow and make progress in the Committee of Nations.
Now, the big problem is that we are not, as some persons argue, yet a nation. And Nigerians also, in a sense, are also propelled by love and patriotism. We are a country, it is argued, of villagers, of ethnic champions who are locked in a primordial mode, largely challenges of thinking as Nigerians, as a nation.
Well, exactly. And, you know, many have therefore suggested that the federal character principle should be redefined and made more productive so that it does not continue to sacrifice merit on the altar of mediocrity.
So we'll go back to first principles. What is the intention, or was the intention, of the original framers of the federal character principle as enshrined in the Constitution? And has the application of the principle justified its introduction, or, like many have said, stratified merit? Now, is there a need for a refinement of the application of the federal character principle? Now, these and some other questions our guests will seek answers to in the course of the program today, which is Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're Africa's largest television network. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. Welcome to today's edition of the program.
And I am Kirian Umayo, joining Kingsley to welcome you to the program. In the course of our show this morning, we shall bring to you our companion segments as usual, which will include newspaper review, business, sports, foreign and entertainment news. We are kick-starting with the news of the day. Well, Laura Bala Hassan is our guide.
Hello Kirian, hello Kingsley, good morning and welcome to the news. Acting President Professor Yemi Oshinbajo has assured motorists plying the Mokwa-Jeba-Ilorin road that relief will soon come their way in 14 days when the temporary bridge over the collapsed Mokwa Bridge will be put in place. The acting president gave the assurance during an unscheduled visit to Tatabu, Mokwa local government area of Niger State, scene of a collapsed bridge that has affected a vehicular movement on the road.
We've also tried to see how, with the help of the FRSC, better movement of goods and materials, can come here for work here. So we're looking at that possibility as well, and looking at all various options of bringing the materials as quickly as possible here.
4 bodies have been recovered while 8 persons are still missing in the aftermath of the flood that affected some parts of Suleja and Tafa local government areas of Niger State. Mukhtar Abubakar reports that the flood followed a heavy downpour which lasted for more than 12 hours.
I
tried to rescue my wives and children, but I was overwhelmed by the flood and narrowly escaped.
Before we know what happened, what you hear now, wow, like this everywhere full.
When we came out, these our neighbors that are here could not be able to cross because the water have already blocked this other side. They were screening for us to help them, but we couldn't.
All stalled power projects in different parts of Nigeria will be completed in line with the present administration's policy on incremental power supply. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, made the commitment at the inauguration of 260 MVA transmission substations in Kukwaba, Abuja.
Customers now will have more than one source, meaning that if there's a fault on the source which is supplying them, we'll be able to switch them to another source.
Delayed up to this point because of lack of funding.
Going forward, let us deliver timely.
The Nigeria Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council rose from its meeting Monday with a determination to find lasting solutions to the challenges facing industry and industrialization in the country. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that this is the second meeting of the council and members were divided into groups to proffer solutions to challenges facing industrialization in Nigeria.
Working meeting, and we have committed to making sure that working together between the private sector and the public sector, we engage and solve the most pressing problems and challenges that face industry and industrialization in Nigeria.
Some areas, some critical areas, that the, our council is looking at, like power, infrastructure, roads, capacity building.
The federal government has summoned the Cameroonian ambassador to Nigeria over a reported case of maltreatment of Nigerians at the Bakassi Peninsula. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyama, stated this while reacting to the situation there. An agreement to build the capacity of West African financial players to combat money laundering and other financial crimes within the sub-region has been signed in Abuja. Kolo Muhammad reports that with this latest effort, countries and institutions in the region are expected to be better informed and professionally equipped to recognize, trace and combat financial crimes.
Upgrade their skills in detecting, tracking and combating money laundering.
But it also enables those who work in the central banks, those who work in the ministries of finance, and those who work in other financial institutions, plus those who support those kinds of ministries and departments, to be able to have the necessary critical skills to manage the economy better.
And that's the news for now. Kirian and Kingsley will be back after this break. Good morning.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Welcome to the new world of superb taste, now here in Nigeria.
Everyone, try it and enjoy the delicious goodness.
We are bringing our new noodles to every corner of the country. That's right, it tastes great. It tastes fantastic. It's time for a new noodle.
Nigeria, you want the truly delicious taste? Come and get it! Be supreme, Nigeria.
Wait, Madam Celebrant, just hold on and give the address to the driver. I beg, hold on.
Hello? Madam, can not finish show?
The party goes soon start, so... Chrissy, help me go and buy the recharge card. Oh yeah, everybody, let's go, let's go, let's go! Okay. Hello, Madam Celebrant.
With Glow Sharp e-top-up, you get 8 times the value of your recharge. Plus, you continue to enjoy all the airtime and data benefits on your plan.
Where the credit now? Now sharp e-top up. I do enter your phone straight. Blood of Zachariah. Well, you don't know say e-top up no they give all the plan benefits like bonus airtime and data. Now e-top up they give you all the better plan benefits plus more. Christy. Don't worry, I go put smart thing on top of your money later.
I be the wonder when that you feel square me the money sharp like it top up.
Very good. You like money.
The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
And out of business news, Libya and Nigeria may be asked to cut oil output, says Kuwait oil minister, as output in both countries rose amid exemption from global cuts. Let's now join Aminanu James for details of these and more stories on business news.
And welcome. Diversification of the Nigerian economy is one that has been extensively talked about in the Nigerian economy and political space. Economists and related professionals share this belief that the nation's gross domestic product (GDP) will greatly improve to the benefit of the common man and the society at large if the economy is diversified. Some economists who spoke with NTA Business News insist diversification is the way to go, calling for a holistic and action-driven approach in shifting from oil, which is the mainstay of the nation's economy.
What we really need now in terms of our economy is what I call economic restructuring. Every state in Nigeria is sufficient enough with the resources available. But it depends how they harness it and how do they use it.
Whether we diversify or not, as far as that problem is still there, corruption, we are going nowhere. Corruption must be tackled first.
And from the equities market, the Nigerian Stock Exchange maintained the upward trend in early trading Monday. Next is the graphic summary. Finally, from the international scene comes the news that Kuwaiti oil minister Issam Al-Marzouk says Libya and Nigeria, which have both boosted oil production since they were exempt from global cuts this year, may be asked to curb their crude output soon in an attempt to help rebalance the market. OPEC and non-OPEC producers have invited the two African nations to their committee meeting in St. Petersburg, Russia on July 24th to discuss the stability of their production. Al-Marzouk said on the sidelines of an energy conference in Istanbul. The two countries came into focus after they seemed to resolve some of their political challenges that had slashed their production. Nigeria's production rose 50,000 barrels a day in June, according to a Bloomberg survey. And that is business news. Good morning, Nigeria continues.
Thank you very much, Aminanu James, for the business package. And good morning, Nigeria. Next for us, we go to the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Altebi, is here in the studio, as always. Good morning, Bayo, and welcome to Good Morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, Kyria. Thank you. Good morning, Kingsley.
All right. Bayo, pleasure to have you join us this morning. We have 4 newspapers, and the front pages of the 4 papers are quite busy. Let's begin with the Blueprint. Blueprint newspaper has as its lead story a triple-decker headline. That's Blueprint newspaper. Hyenas and jackals will soon be chased out of my husband's kingdom. And this is attributed to Aisha Buhari. Details of the story can be found on page 6. Hyenas and jackals will soon be chased out of my husband's kingdom. Now, above that lead story, we have, below that lead story, there's a photograph there showing the acting president, the governor of Niger State, as well as the Minister of Power Works and Housing, when the acting president visited the collapsed Mokwa-Jeba Bridge in Niger State yesterday. Of course, with them is the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps. And below that, you have a strip headline. That's a foot right at the foot of the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. Why Northern monarchs kept mum on Ife clash. That's according to the Emir of Kano. And details of the story can be found on page 19. Now let's go back again to the upper half of Blueprint newspaper. Below the name flag of Blueprint, you have quite a number of headlines there. Federal government to fix Ilorin, Mokwa and Jeba Road soon. That's attributed to Oshibajo, and the photograph, of course, is what we just read the caption a moment ago. Now, it's now maximum of 5 lawyers per client, CJN rules. It's now maximum of 5 lawyers per client. So, Bayo, take note of that. So when you are discussing, so there's no need of hiring a crowd of lawyers, both junior and senior. Details of the story can be found on page 6. Effective local government system will address agitations, according to Dogara, the Speaker of the House. INEC begins Melaye recall process, and Etisalat set to pull out of Nigeria in 3 weeks. Niger floods death toll hits 16. That's on page 7.
All right. Now we have the Daily Trust newspaper for today, and just below the nameplate, God has answered prayers over my husband. That's Aisha Buhari there. The story is on page 3. And beside that, we have electricity grid loses 603 megawatts in 24 hours. The story is on page 7 of Daily Trust. And the main headline, hoodlums terrorize Abuja residents. And of course, below that, we have the photograph, which is also what Kingsley told us about in Blueprint, where the acting president, Oshibajo, governor of Niger State, and of course the minister of power, Fashola, on a tour of a collapsed bridge. Besides that, also we have Kaduna screens 230 for 77 district head positions. That story is on page 4 of Daily Trust. And below that, you have debt. Etisalat terminates agreement with Nigerian partner. Page 3 has details of that story. Bayo.
Yes. The story about Henya and Hyena has dominated all the newspapers, and they are alluding to Mrs. Aisha Buhari, who says God has answered the prayers of the Nigerian masses for the recovery of her husband. She said on her Facebook posting while reacting to a metaphor by Senator Shehu Sani, who has posted that weaker animals were praying for the return of the Lion King. Hyenas and jackals were scheming and on assumption that the Lion King will never return. And this was what the wife of the president responded to by saying that the prayers of the weaker animals have been answered, while the hyenas and jackals will soon be evicted from the kingdom. He said, we strongly believe in the prayers and support of the weaker animals. Long live the weaker animals, long live Nigeria. Now, this has dominated all the papers. The Nation puts it, jackal, hyenas around Buhari will go. New Telegram says Buhari will chase out hyenas, jackals in presidency. It reminds one of the satire, classical satire, Animal Farm, where the pigs held sway and the sheep were the underlings and they kept on bleeping. Yeah, 2 legs bad, 2 legs bad, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. And classically it was alluding to what was happening in Russia. But the concern here is that history is about to repeat itself. It may be recalled that when President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua was also ailing, and upon return, there were some cabinet shaking, and some people lost their position. And this is what is being alluded to, apparently saying that there have been some under the carpet plans, anticipating that the president probably may not return.
All right, Bayo, thank you very much. Of course, this is the second most significant remark made by the president's wife.
Yes, on the president's health, yes.
And then, of course, the allusion now to hyenas and jackals. All right, let's return to the front pages of other papers. Nigerian pilot. Nigerian pilot, just below the nameplate. We'll go from the nameplate right down to the foot of the front page. Biafra, agitators have foreign sponsors, and this is according to the Gambian envoy. Details of that story can be found on page 12. And maritime workers urge federal government to upgrade man, that's with facilities. Details of the story can be found on page 9. Now, Fed loans talks. Etisalat pulls out of Nigeria, and foreign major gives Nigeria 3 weeks to wind down. That's on page 5 in greater detail. Now, South and Southeast governors unite to pursue common development. Also there on the front page, the details of which can be found on page 2. Edo governorship. Supreme Court affirms Obaseki winner. This story, as I said, is in greater detail on page 2. Ata Igala lauds road construction efforts of Kogi governor. And presidency cabal in dilemma over Buhari, that's according to Fayoshe, that's on page 12. And Transport Ministry and Shippers Council set to host Trucks Transit Park Summit. And widow of slain policeman cries for justice.
All right, now to the Guardian newspaper. I expected Bayo to talk about this hoodlums terrorize Abuja. Maybe we'll do that much later. Well, let me just give you the details that we have here. Above the nameplate, Supreme Court upholds election of Obaseki as governor. That's on Guardian. And now we have a photograph here that tells story. We can see some governors there. Fayoshe, the governor of Ekiti, Rochas Okorocha of Imo State, and Okeze Baz, right. And besides that, we have a she-hot of a new feature, Ray Ebu. Well, that's a story that might interest you. It's on page 9. And then President Buhari will soon be rid of sycophants, evil wishers, says wife. That's on page 5. The story is on Guardian newspaper. Then Dangote Foundation donates 50 million naira to victims of Ife crisis. Now, below the photograph, we have Etisalat Nigeria get deadline to stop use of brand name. What is that all about, Bayo?
Yes, let's start with the hoodlums thing.
Yes.
It's not as if the hoodlums have taken over the entire Abuja city, but what the report is alluded to is the fact that most street lights are not working, and the reasons are not far-fetched. As at last Friday, power had peaked about 4,223 megawatts, and all of a sudden, the nation lost about 603 megawatts due to gas. It's a question of gas available for flare everywhere, but no gas to run the turbines. And naturally, when there is no street light, there's darkness, and that's when hoodlums get the upper hand to operate. I think something has to be done about that. But there are two critical issues now. The acting president visited the site of the Bakino Bridge at Tatabu, and the initiative is to ensure that within 2 weeks, the Mokwa, Jeba, Ilorin Road will be motorable. Presently, the newspapers report that there are over 2,000 trucks, tankers, waiting that are stranded there with other trucks seeking to have a passageway. The acting vice president flew there onto the site yesterday and handed strict instructions that the temporary bridge be completed within a fortnight so that temporary passage can be sustained. However, there will be a permanent solution to ensure that the movement of heavy truck on the highway, which is persistently decimating the highway, will be reduced when the railway is there so that heavy traffic can return to the highway. Meanwhile,
but I was just wondering, it's not so much waiting the railways, to take up the pressure of the roads. One of the points that the acting president made yesterday also had to do with the tonnage of the vehicles plying the Jeba Mokwa Road, as indeed we find elsewhere. A number of those vehicles are overloaded. And if you have a temporary bridge now, who is going to control or monitor the tonnage of the vehicles on the road? Otherwise, in just a matter of weeks, you can find that the temporary bridge would have collapsed, and everybody will say, "Oh, they did a shoddy job."
Yes, that reminds me. In a few years back, when the express highways were constructed, there were in fact way-in portions whereby heavy trucks will have to go in and they will ascertain their ways before they go on the highway.
That's right.
But as time went on, everything were thrown to the dogs. On those portion where the vehicles were supposed to go in are still standing there idle, doing nothing. So, and what killed most of our highway, petrol has to be hauled across the country, and this is heavy. Also, iron and steel, we used to have iron and steel foundries at Oshogbo, at Katsina, at Itakwe, and also in Delta. And all these were freighted across the highway. Sometimes, as soon as the roads are constructed, heavy truck come over, and before you notice the road are virtually folding because there's no control on weight.
You have flatbed trucks conveying 900 bags of cement.
Yes.
I don't know how many tires that they say they have. I mean, it's,
some of them 16, 24.
Absolutely. And these are
the weight that kills the highway. So no matter the initiative, you put on efforts to repair the roads. When these heavy trucks come over them, they will go off. The same thing goes for the petrol. One train convoy can hold as many as 10 to 15 tankers. That is the load that at least 15 tankers will carry, and that will reduce the pressure on the highway.
All right. Bayo, I'd like to thank you for being with us today. Of course, we'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be another day. Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's Bayo Atoyebi, and I'm sure those who listen to Bob Marley, they remember the song, Chase Those Crazy Bald Heads Out of Our Town. It's Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll be discussing the federal character principle, an idea or a tool for promoting national integration or mediocrity.
Oh boy, climb this thing now. Not be only to connect lights. Come you and yourself now. Now wow. Oh boy, calm down now. Oga Kasali electrician who would look for with this? Oh. Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Sorry, I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer because change begins with me.
Oh boy, letting him talk makes sense. Oh boy, we could carry this line.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Is what a normal data day looks like. You on your lane, minding your own business. La 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 la. Suddenly, Glow decides to surprise you. Free 200 megabytes, and wow, your parole don't change. This means you begin to enjoy more upload, more Snapchatting, more streaming, more gaming. Look at you, buzzing around town, having the time of your life.
Free Data Day is here for all Glow subscribers. Get 200 MB free data for a day and change your parole. Use 100 MB plus 150 naira on voice calls or just 250 naira on voice calls in the preceding week to enjoy. Watch out for an SMS alert for details. The largest data network, Glow, grandmasters of data.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, one of the measures introduced to allay the fears of sections of the country after the Civil War ended in 1970 was, of course, the federal character principle. Several years later, how effective has the principle been in ensuring that public service appointments and recruitments reflect the country's diversity? Our correspondent, Ahmad Ambale, has a background report as a prompt for our conversation this morning.
Very few nations of the world can boast of the diversity that Nigeria enjoys. Its tribes and tongues provide a rich blend laden with talent and endless possibilities. To harness these potentials and further ensure all parts of the Nigerian project get their fair share in resources and positions, the Federal Character Principle was introduced in 1979. On paper, it's a principle that ensures Nigeria belongs to nobody and at the same time belongs to every single group that makes it up. Whatever feeling of marginalization might be held on ethnic, religious or geographic grounds are supposed to be eliminated by the Federal Character Principle. In essence, the principle strikes a balance, promotes a sense of national allegiance and cohesion. Over time, however, it has become a topic for discussion, with many attributing the failings and inefficiency that has eroded public service as being a consequence of the principle. Merit, observers say, has been sacrificed on the altar of fulfilling sectional quotas and other such primordial criteria. Pointing to the civil service in particular, experts say the very best have often failed to get positions, thus denying the nation of their talent and expertise, which could have turned things around for the country. But while one finger points to the principle, a school of thought believes the bulk of the blame falls back on those who implement the principle. Cases, they say, abound of citizens of this country who deliberately lower standards while hiding under the pretext of federal character. Kinsmen to such people come first, religious affinities take precedence, while competence come a distant last. To address these anomalies, those who know say equal opportunities must be given and standards need to be put in place. Nationalism as a must needs to have its roots deeply entrenched in the minds of Nigerians. In schools and in religious gatherings, equality, with emphasis on hard work and dedication, need to be emphasized. By so doing, the Nigeria of all, by all, and for all will become a reality.
Thank you, Ahmed Ambali, for that background. Joining us now in the studio to discuss the issue is the acting chairman of the Federal Character Commission, Dr. Buka Abar. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Karen.
And of course, we also have an associate professor. We have with us an associate professor from the Nasarawa State University, Dr. Jidofo Adibe. Dr. Adibe, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
All right, Kieran, thanks a lot. Of course, Dr. Adibe is also a columnist with the Daily Trust newspaper. Then we have two other guests with us here in the Abuja studios, Dr. Rosemary Okoli. She's a professional social worker and also currently a research fellow at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Dr. Okoli, a pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then from our Lagos Network studios, we have been joined by the former head of the civil service of the Federation, Professor Afolabi Oladapo. Oladapo Afolabi on the other hand, I believe. Professor, I'm delighted to have you join us on the program this morning.
Good morning. Right, gentlemen and lady, we will get started now, and we would like the acting chairman of the Federal Character Commission to kickstart this conversation. Now, what actually necessitated the introduction of a federal character in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much, Karen. Federal character principle, as it's enshrined in the Constitution, was necessitated by certain historical factors. You know, initially there were very huge educational gap between the North and the South. And then this educational gap led to so many Nigerians, not necessarily from the North, but from the other part of the country, occupying a greater part of the civil service because of the lack of educational qualification by then. And then therefore, when other Nigerians got educated and started moving into the federal civil service or public service, then there was a huge cries of Malams coming into to take the federal position to work in this thing. And there was therefore a huge cry of lopsidedness in the civil service. And this lopsidedness resulted in people terribly being marginalized. And the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, after looking at these cries, not this time not necessarily from the North, but from all parts of the country, that people are being marginalized and are being not given appropriate position of employment in the government. And as a result, and particularly after the creation of states, you will discover that there are so many minorities who have not been represented in the workings of government. And therefore, you find it very difficult for them to be incorporated into this thing. Not only that, with a series of developments, you find out that there was no part of this country which you will not get people educated in whatever field you want it. And therefore, our people who made the Constitution now realize that it's better for them now to look at a mechanism where you are going to bring justice, honesty, and fair play in the recruitment exercise. And not only that, people misunderstand another aspect of the federal character institution, not only in the recruitment or employment, but also in the provision of infrastructure facilities, social amenities, so that you look no part of this country is being neglected, provided that you don't compromise merit. And why you don't compromise merit, when people are qualified and they are being given the right chance of being admitted into whatever workforce, then you now provide. And then the Constitution now provides representation from all the 36 states, plus the federal capital, making 37 commissioners highly qualified civil servants, are either retired or serving, but they must retire their position, and then come and look at this lopsidedness in their own states, and then look at it in terms of either recruitment or in terms of provision of infrastructure facilities. But all these things are geared towards ensuring that, yes, people who want to work in the civil service of the country are people who are qualified, people who have the access to do this thing, so that there is equity, fairness, and justice in making these provisions and ensuring that, yes, they are being given the right chance of this thing. I want to emphasize that provided you don't compromise merit, you cannot just simply because of federal character bring in somebody else and say, come and occupy this position. But in doing so, you must provide a benchmark where you want people to be employed in whatever capacity. If you want to get a lecturer or a teacher or a civil servant, then you are interviewing him, you must provide him with a level playing ground. And then now you make a benchmark where you find areas which are lopsided, and then the person reaches the employable benchmark. If you say your benchmark is 70%, and if you interview and he goes to 70%, then his area is lopsided, and other areas that are highly favored you should now consider those areas that are being lopsided, provided he has maintained your employable level of 70%. And then if he gets that, then he is now going to be employed and then given the chance.
All right. Dr. Shatima Buka, thank you very much for establishing the foundational principles of federal character. From time to time, the Commission, that's the Federal Character Commission, undertakes visitations to federal establishments. And then, of course, there are also reports about the Commission members, or the Commission has been summoned to the National Assembly to explain certain things. What is the latest report card on the application of the Federal Character Principle, say, in the federal service?
Well, it's initially, prior to the establishment of the Federal Character Commission, you now discover that majority of the workforce is being dominated by a particular state or particular part of the country. For example, if you come to the north, majority of the people working in the civil service, and because of their levels of education initially, you find either from Kogi State or from Kwara State. And if you come to the southeast, the majority you find are either from Imo State or from Anambra, this thing. To the detriment of people, places like Ebonyi State, or places like Taraba, or places like Nasarawa State, you find out that all these people, because of the levels of education, and even if you come to the southwest, you also find out that majority of the people working in there are people from the other part of this, in exclusion of Lagos. Lagos State, for example, is one of the lowest represented in public service. And if you look at these states, if not because of the federal character, majority of them couldn't have come into to the civil service. But they have properly qualified people within that area, within those areas. Therefore, presently, we have no any part of this country, no any MDA or ministry that you don't find substantial number of Nigerians who, from all parts of the country working. We are not saying that we have now reached the equilibrium. And we also, people make a mistake that federal character is associated with quota system. It's not quota system. It's not quota system. It's representation, provided that certain Nigerians are there. So that we have a template where no particular organization has more than 2.5, less than 2.5%.
What was the difference between quota system and federal character?
Yes. The difference between quota system and federal character and equity is that in quota system, you expect every state should have 10, 10, 10, 10, or 5, 5, 5, or 50, 50, 50. But in our own federal character system, you have to have equity, not fully, so that if you have 1,000 staff in your organization, we expect that at least 2.5% of that staff may have from other states, and maybe 3% will be from other. So the range is between 2.5 and 3%, and therefore they are not equal. It can be in NTA, for example, it can be from somebody from the state can be 5, and from other state it can be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Not necessarily equality, but we give chance to Nigerians to participate.
All right. From all indications, what you're saying is that there should be meritocracy.
Yes.
After all. All right. Let's go over to Lagos now, where Professor Afolabi is. Professor Afolabi, you were the head of civil service of the Federation, and you must have actually, experienced the workability or otherwise of the federal character principle. Could you just enlighten us, what your experience has been and how that has, affected Nigeria or impacted positively in the Nigerian workforce?
Thank you very much. The federal character principle, as enshrined in the Constitution by itself, in my opinion, is a very laudable idea because Nigeria is multi-ethnic, and in terms of opportunities, it's not really equal. So there must be some kind of mechanism to be introduced that allows everybody to belong and feel extremely satisfied and assured that, yes, Nigeria belongs to all. From my experience, I think in the euphoria of having this enshrined in the Constitution, we did not pay too much attention to the details of the implementation. So the problem really is in the detail. And that is why you have the perception that perhaps federal character is promoting not so much of meritocracy, but other things. In my experience, and from what I've seen over the years, is that we need to develop clear guidelines as to how this will be implemented if it must persist. Because, again, when you look at the totality of Nigeria today, there's nowhere in Nigeria that you don't have people who fill the slots that we're all clamoring to fill. So maybe I will get to the more fundamental thing which actually bothers me a lot of the time, is the constitutional review that allows every citizen to belong to where they were born or where they live or something like that. Not that It's your ethnic origin that determines your citizenship. So in trying to elucidate this principle of federal character, I think where it had worked, and which you have all ignored, is in the university admission process. Yes, federal character quota system, but the quota system was really an offspring of the federal character. So when in the university system, you give admission based on some quotering, that only applies to the first year. Beyond first year, you have to make the effort. You have to actually merit whatever promotion or certificates that will be awarded. What we have not done at the, for example, at the recruitment of staff in the federal service is that as we are emphasizing, which I think is overemphasized, the federal character at the recruitment, we should leave to all the individuals who have been so recruited to advance based on merit. But you find that along the line, you still bring in federal character some way or the other. I would leave federal character only again to the political levels of appointment beyond the mainstream, really the trust, the body that is the engine of service. So my opinion is that the federal character is a very good principle, but we need to pay more attention to the way this is clearly specified in terms of merit.
All right, Professor Afolabi, thank you very much. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. You've raised a number of points. You've talked about having clear guidelines on the implementation of the federal character principle. And one of the guidelines, of course, you've talked about is a living federal character, for instance, leaving it to be applied solely at the levels of political appointments rather than the integrated workforce, the technocratic workforce. But let's come back now to our guests in the studios, Dr. Adibe and as well as Dr. Okoli. You both have been listening to the other guests, beginning with Dr. Rosemary Okoli. Federal character at work in Nigeria. Some say, look, this is an affirmative principle that ordinarily is laudable, but implementation has challenges. What are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. Wonderful explanation we were given by the director of the Federal Character, or rather chairman of the Federal Character Commission. Great and laudable it is. But like Professor Afolabi mentioned, there are challenges. It's good we have these in principle, but then implementation is the problem. So we need to have set down criteria, eligibility criteria, set standards for these to happen and follow strictly on the standards, not watering them down. We know in the past, people have always tended to relate more. Actually, even now, people tend to relate more to people of their ethnic group or subcultural groups. We have also had wars in Nigeria based on ethnic sentiments and religious sentiments. And all of these, so many people feel marginalized. They feel not part of the system, the Nigerian project, or members of the country. And many are crying marginalization, and some also are saying that we need to go our separate ways. We already had, some years back, a civil war based on some group of people wanting to go their separate way because they felt hugely marginalized in distribution of resources in the country. And that points to the problem, the challenge faced by this federal character business or the quota system. It is wonderful, it is positive affirmation, it is equal opportunities, it promotes justice, engenders, fairness. Some people call it positive discrimination. But whatever way we look at it, there is need for everybody to to be taken along, to be brought on board. Yes, all fingers are not equal. It is also, it should be noted that some people, some groups, some areas do better in certain things than others. But we should not sacrifice merit because we want everybody to be equally represented. Take, for instance, in highly competitive business like football or sporting activities. Yes, we want to promote every representation from every state, from every ethnic group or cultural, subcultural groups. But when you are going out there in the global environment to win goals, to bring back laurels, what we want is go there, get us the accolade, get us the laurel. If the 11 players in a football match, for instance, come from one ethnic group or come from one family or come from one state and they are the best the country can showcase, the best we trust would go out there and bring us the laurel, play well, represent the country well. So let it be. We don't always have to apply the quota system or the federal character to highly competitive businesses like sporting activities. So they go, they bring us the laurels, the ambassadors of Nigeria, the name that is known all over with Nigeria, the football team in Nigeria, they are great, they are wonderful. Nobody is there asking whether they are from Imo State or they are from Nasarawa State or they are fairly, picked from every state. Yes, so we promote the best of the best, and for me, that's what I believe in, much as I also believe in equal opportunities, because outside of this country, in the US, they encourage ethnic groups. In the UK, they also encourage minority ethnic groups to be part of the system. And so, when such things are done, they put in a lot of resources, they put in a lot of facilities, they encourage and empower people who are less represented. The black or minority ethnic groups always seem to be less represented. And they do that to bring everybody up to speed. But then coming back here to here, you have to have everybody from every state. Fine. If you must take everybody from every state, every locality, whatever the agreed criteria are, it should be the best from such localities and not the best in Enugu, the best in Nasarawa, and then you take somebody who is less, who has not measured up to the laid down criteria or the required eligibility criteria. That's my take on that.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Colby. Just as Professor Afolabi, pointed out, that it may be more effective, more useful to us if that is limited to political appointments, as he said. And you also now raising the issue of ensuring that the best goes out for us, especially in sports, than just let's do the federal character in all things. And now let's go to Dr. Adibe now. This was introduced about 38 years ago. And of course, the issues which underpin the introduction of the policy, is still present with us. So what's your take?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to give this historical background to the establishment of the FCC in 1996. The background actually was the Abuja Constitutional Conference, where the southern faction of the political elite were demanding for power rotation. In turn, the northern faction of the political elite were also demanding for federal character commission as a balance. So it's actually part of the instruments of nation building. And I want to elaborate on what the acting chairman said about the difference between quota system and federal character principle. The quota system is based on a predetermined outcome. For example, you say this person has 10. In the appointment of ministers, the Constitution says every state must have at least one minister, that is quota. In federal character, the principle is aspirational, and it's not the same as the way I understand it, as some people assume, that is an affirmative action program. It's not. Its affirmative action is based on redressing past historical injustices. And that means that you have to establish who caused the injustice. I don't think that was the essence of the federal character principle. It was an aspirational instrument of nation building going forward. Because if we allow elections, unfettered competition of elections in the political marketplace, one section may, because of its population, establish majority tyranny. Therefore, to avoid that, we want power rotation. And the other person said, okay, yes, power rotation we can concede, but also let's put federal character principle. You don't go back, you look forward. So that makes it aspirational. Another misconception is that people think it's proportional representation. In other words, that if you come to any establishment, there should be some parity. If you have Zone A that has 10, and other people will have 10, so that every parastatal should mirror the nation. I don't think that was also the essence. You have to look at the totality of what, because resources and skills are not evenly distributed. You can find that there are in some establishments where certain groups will be predominant. Say, for example, if you are from riverine areas and you excellent good swimmers, you're likely to take interest in the Navy, and you may become preponderant there. And then if you move to another area, you have to also become preponderant. You have other groups. So if you find media reports showcasing one or two parastatals where one or two groups predominating, that's bias reporting. Because you have to look at the picture. And also we have to make a distinction between the application of federal character principle and simple statecraft. If you take, for example, the Federal Character Commission, where with the due respect to the acting chairman, if, say, Babangida or Obasanjo were in power, was in power, what will happen? There are certain key areas in the nation that you deliberately want to make sure that certain people are represented because people see them all the time. I'm sure the acting chairman is aware of the criticisms of the FCC that since its establishment, the chairmen have always come from the north. That's part of the criticism. That's, you have to bail yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's simply that there's been lack of statecraft. There are certain institutions, you make sure that everybody is given that sense of belonging. So I believe that it's not incompatible, but also we have to rethink our notion. There's one other thing I want to add. We tend to think that federal character principle applies only to the federal, at the federal level. I think the act establishing it is clear. It's also at the state level, at local government level, and other areas. But you see, some of the hypocrisy, the political ostrich we play, is that I can come to this area and federal level and say, it has not been applied. These people have dominated in my own state. I don't want that principle to be applied because we believed it's only a federal thing. And again, it is not only limited to the political offices or even civil service positions. It's also applicable in the distribution of infrastructure. I'm actually one of those who have been arguing that I've actually argued that we need to elevate the Federal Character Commission itself, give it some level to the status of INEC. But then it means it has to come up and assume certain responsibility so that certain key positions will require its imprimatur.
Okay, Doctor, we are going to come back to you much later because you can see the energy, the energy in you and the knowledge that you have about this. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, the conversation continues.
The Future Assured project of the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, is carrying out free medical screening and distribution of food items at various IDP camps while ensuring the economic empowerment of women through training and skill acquisition. In recognition of her efforts, wives of governors have lent their voices and support.
In Kogi State, we feel the impact of Future Assured, especially in women and children.
The Future Assured program of Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, the wife of the president, has been very assuring and still reassuring in Sokoto State. It has impacted positively in the areas of humanity, especially women and children.
Supports the Future Assured initiative. Email Programs at futureassured.org.ng. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
Admission forms for the 2017-2018 academic session of NTA Television College JAWS into its diploma programs are now on sale. The diploma programs are in film and TV production, broadcast journalism, and TV engineering technology. Applicants are required to have at least 5 credits, including English language and mathematics at SSC, NECO, or GCO levels in not more than 1 sitting. Application forms can be obtained from the TV College Refi JAWS or at any NTA zonal centers nationwide on payment of a non-refundable fee of 7,500 naira in bank draft in favor of NTA Television College. Completed application forms should be returned to the office of the academic secretary, NTA Television College, or the center of purchase on or before 28th of July 2017. For further inquiries, please call 0806 980 9807 or 0703 660 7155. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
You want to know the coolest place in town? It's right here on your phone.
Welcome to the Glow Cafe. Come on in. It's buzzing in the Zanga. In here, anything is possible. Check out the menu, and here are some of the odds items. Over here, you can buy credit, buy data, share data, borrow voice and data, give data. Give it to him now, be kind. Then there is Glow Music Cafe. More than 2 million Nigerian and Africa Lampa. Glow has teamed up with the world's largest gaming catalog to bring you the Glow Game Cafe. And that's just a start. Check out the Glow Video Cafe. Countless clips, comedy and sports, direct to your device. And when you thought things couldn't get easier, there's personal account management and Glow customer care right at your fingertips.
You can get everything at Glow.
Simply text BUZZ to 105 to download the Glow Cafe app or go to your app store and search for Glow Cafe, the largest data network. Glow, grandmasters of data.
All right, you're welcome back. If you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We still have all our guests, including, of course, Professor Afolabi, who is at our Lagos Network Center. Professor Afolabi is the former head of the Civil Service of the Federation. My question goes to you, Professor Afolabi. In addition, of course, to the various issues surrounding the principles of federal character, let's begin also to look at federal character at work. Now, some persons argue that it's become rather invidious in its application because you find it in recruitment into the service, you find it in terms of admission into institutions of higher learning or even secondary schools, the unity schools. You have a scandal popping up every now and then about persons from parts of the country with very low scores who get admitted, and those from higher scores, of course, who get not to be admitted, who do not get to be admitted. Now, we have also seen that being played out. We have had on this program lawmakers from the National Assembly who have argued rather vociferously that on the basis of Chapter 2 of the Constitution, citing the federal character principle, that infrastructure distribution in the country should also follow the federal character principle. And that's also been responsible for some of the budgetary delays and squabbles that we have had with the executive branch. Is the federal character principle, in this sense, killing the country?
A lot of the time, we blame the training for the performance of actors. Many a times, the actors, they have issues and they just give excuses. The federal character principle, as is, and looking at the totality of our polity, has brought peace, has given a sense of belonging, and it has, in a way, become a soothing balm. But that's to the extent to which it should be relevant. When you consider standard, merit, this should be the overriding principle in whatever we do. And I can say this boldly, that in Nigeria today, you find merit everywhere. So all the flaws, all the inadequacies regarding the outcome of performance or the fulfillment of our expectations, which are easily pointed in the direction of federal character, in my opinion, are excuses. It's the players, those who are implementing the federal character, give the federal character as an excuse to do other things that they want to do. The federal character should, by itself, provide the minimum opportunity, the minimum access to citizens. So it's really not killing the country. It is the implementation, the practice, as in all things that you find in Nigeria. Cutting corners, not trying to obey the principles, believing that the way you do is right, not the way that the standard is set. So it's the people. People of Nigeria must wake up and really want to be Nigerians and do things properly like they do in other places, so that we don't kill ourselves and use things like federal character as excuse for killing ourselves. So federal character is not the killing leather weapon.
To pursue this, I'm sure you are also familiar with what happens in some establishments in the country. Take, for instance, the services, let's say the armed forces, the police or paramilitary institutions, where issues of seniority are very crucial. So on account of the fact that some persons argue you want to promote federal character, you appoint a service head, to a position, and all those, of course, who are otherwise better qualified or senior to him, will then get retired. I mean, we have this kind of purge from time to time. We have seen it over the decades in the country. Now, what does that do to the patriotism of individuals who get to be affected, whether in the civil service or whether in the paramilitary or even the armed forces?
Now, let us differentiate technocratic positions from political or pseudo-political positions. As you advance in public service, maybe you start from a level 8, say, and as you move on, you get to a position that we call directorate levels, which means from chief. From that point on, you must be politically conscious. And by the time you become a permanent secretary, you know that it is 80% political. This is my judgment. At such times, when political measures are taken, they are apt and appropriate, provided it meets the yearnings and aspirations of the people and is done in the interest of the people. I'll give you one small example of what I did. Of course, not everybody agreed, but that was the kind of sense at the time when I was permanent secretary, Minister of Education, about 2009. I got there and the position of principals of the unity colleges became an issue. We have 104 unity colleges, and those who are qualified by and large to head those places will start from assistant director to deputy director and director to head the unity colleges. But when the occupation of these positions, you found that it was lopsided. And there was a lot of clamoring. Even when you want to say everything has to be merit, there must be a sense of belonging to be introduced. So we drew up what should be the minimum benchmark to get people in and still fulfill the principles of federal character. So we divided the 104 by 36 states plus 1. And you could find that you will have in each state at least 2. Minimum of 2, maximum of 3. So in each state, we did the whatever required to meet the minimum benchmark, and then based on the performance, and in this time also linked to seniority, because experience is linked to seniority and performance and exposures and all sorts of things. Well, we balanced it out. So if we apply it in this way, in which case the political consciousness, and when you get to the level of political consideration, you just have to allow to hold sway. Because at that time, there were deputy directors from other states who are not principals, and we have assistant directors who are principals in from other states. But they had met the minimum benchmark. So as you are applying to, for example, in the armed forces or in the other parastatals institutions, once you get to that position that is classified as political, even by the way of salary, you see that some of these positions are political. Anything political can be the consequence of your faith. So it is in the implementation that we be assured that we are doing this in good faith. We are doing it not based on bias of ethnic color anymore, but based on what is good for the people, what is good for the country. And this will be my take.
Thank you very much, Professor Afolabi, for that position that you have taken. And you also talked about flaws and inadequacies in the implementation of the federal character principle, and that's well taken. And let's now go over to the acting chairman of the Federal Character Commission. The big problem is that some people think that we are not yet a nation. Now, can the federal character principle achieve for Nigeria the nationhood that we're talking about in the light of the fact that we have issues implementing the principle which was well intended originally?
Well, thank you very much. I absolutely agree with most of the comments made by my fellow participants, and also the issue raised by Professor Afolabi. One of the most serious criteria or serious problem is, as is rightly pointed out, is the problem of implementation. But let us look at it, let us look at the issue of merit in two contexts. There are two different kinds of merit. One merit is the merit that people need it and it must be done. For example, if you are talking about infrastructure or if you are talking about allocation of resources to certain areas, look at, for example, where there is a very serious gully erosion or very serious environmental degradation or desertification or whatever it is. This kind of areas require a special kind of merit that they deserve it, and then the areas could not afford to remedy that particular position. That is one aspect of merit in terms of infrastructure. The other aspect of merit, I believe, is people are referring it to paper qualification. That means you must be a graduate, you must have a BSc, MSc, PhD, whatever it is, they refer to this thing. But let us look at the historical antecedents of this country and how these things came about. In the olden days, in the 40s and 50s and in early 60s, look at the infrastructural facilities and then educational this thing and employment level put in by people like Aolo, people like Sordona, people like Okpara, in their own, even outside in the Midwest, they have put in structures which are in the best interest of the country. And unfortunately, today we have better educated people, more people from all these areas, but we have still underdevelopment, worse than the time we have in the early 50s and late 60s, simply because the type of merit we consider is only on merit on paper qualification. And yet certificates are given based on character and learning. Based on character and learning, and nobody looks at the issue of the character. They only talk about the learning. You don't know how these people got these certificates. You don't know how they come about. And then when they come in, they create a problem which is very difficult to be remedied. Let me give you an example. Federal institutions established in certain communities, whether you are take universities for example, if there are certain communities which you clearly look at everything to be from their states, because that federal institution belongs to them, and therefore they don't want anybody coming up. And even if you are qualified, whether you have a first class or this thing, they prefer taking somebody with third class from their area than you who is a first class and you want to work there, simply because the implementers directly or deliberately jettison the issue of federal character. And this is being encouraged by the elites, who now put people that this a particular institution belongs to you, and therefore you don't mind it. And I have an example. There was a recruitment currently going on in one part of the country, in one of the federal medical centers, where you find the chief medical director, the director of works, the director, the admin, director admin, the chief chairman, Mark, all these people are from one particular state, and there was a vacancy for admin officer. And one state which is closer to that area, somebody participated, and then we recommended that people should be taken. Since he had reached the benchmark, the community protested. They still want their people to be there.
How do we get out of this?
That's the catchment issue.
Yes.
It's not even a catchment issue. What we are saying is, the Constitution clearly says there shouldn't be any predominance of particular states in an organization. Predominance, provided that people coming in are qualified. And yet these people are qualified and they are not being given.
I just want to ask this question, Acting Chair of the Federal Character Commission. Your commission is 21 years in existence. Has the commission commissioned any study to evaluate the application, the utility and effectiveness of the Federal Character Principle?
Yes, this is the reason why it is based on this.
What was the outcome of
Based on this study that we now came and realized certain states which are being grossly underrepresented in all parts of the country. In my earlier introduction, I've seen there are certain states. For example, if you go to the east, to the southeast, for example, take Ebonyi State, for example, you find a lot of educated people in all areas, and yet you find that they are the least represented either in the zone or in the federal establishment, simply because people who are there already are either from their own states, from other parts of the state, and therefore they are not being considered. If you come to the north, the same problem. We discover that certain areas are grossly underrepresented. We are now saying that since there are people who are qualified, and since they have applied to be employed, after giving them the necessary qualification, a necessary interview and whatever it is, you employ them.
How do we get out of all this? Because now you are talking about implementation, and you are the helm of affairs of the commission. How do we get out of it?
Thank you very much. The only way we can get out of this is the Nigerians must change their attitude. Nigerians must forget that the country belongs to all of us. They should forget about nepotism, they should forget about tribalism, they should forget about, yes, this is my state. And secondly, we should now look at the Constitution very seriously. I always tell people that I find it very sad for somebody from either Borno or from Yobe or from Ebonyi or from Lagos State or from Anambra who has stayed in certain part of Nigeria for more than 35 years or 20 years, and yet they are not being classified as they belong to that state.
Yeah, that was an issue we actually discussed on this program last week. It was extensive. I'm sure, Akira, you recall, you and I were on set on that occasion. But we'll come back to the acting chairman as well as the other guests to get their views on this issue of federal character and the challenge of meritocracy. Let's take our reactions now from our viewers. Dele Jack Solomon tweets, Federal Character Principle since its introduction in 1979 promoted mediocrity within the public service and retarded national growth and progress.
Now, Clifford Agwegos, he said, equitable distribution of ports and socio-economic amenities, infrastructural facilities where there are agencies like NCC and NIDA.
And then we have this tweet from Comrade Tomore Abdul. The federal character is good if hidden agenda is not attached.
And also from Jack Solomon, introduced after the Civil War to promote national integration and to address the fears of marginalization, but still have tribalism and nepotism gone.
And this is from Law Alpha C. Nigerians are calling for restructuring in view of the present lopsidedness in the federal character principle application.
And Festus Akimboewa says the federal character has created platform for dullards who are deficient in strategic thinking to take over strategic positions in Nigeria.
Law Alpha C again has another tweet. The federal character principle has long been bastardized along political, ethnic and religious lines at the expense of meritocracy.
And more coming in now from Change to Progress. I think the FCC needs to be more publicity or something. That maybe you require to do some publicity to correct a lot of misinformation on the streets, especially in southern parts of Nigeria.
And this is from Shakiru. It says, federal character is good, but it has a lot of disadvantages. It must be applied with caution.
Festus Akimboewa says again, merit should come first before ethnic background in Nigeria. Government at all levels should invest in education and human development.
And we have this from Habila Kwara Zakshi. That's Habila Kwara Zakshi. And it tweets, federal character is not working for minority tribes in Nigeria. My tribe is minority in Bauchi, and we don't have simple recognition.
I recall we talked about the character being also at the state level. It plays out there. And now Ali Ahmed says, on what conditions did FCC give waivers to MDAs, that's ministries, departments and agencies, to recruit their wish and abandon poor applicants?
That's the same tweet continues by Ali Ahmed. Is it true that FCC, that's the Federal Character Commission, compromises recruitment in MDAs by collecting, or rather cornering, that's what I think that's the intention there, cornering their share of the recruitment? All right, now those are the tweets that we have in the meantime. Of course, we'll come back to the acting chair to get his thoughts. But let's just get the thoughts of our other guest, Dr. Rosemary Okoli. Again, you listen to the views that have been expressed. Federal character at work. That some persons have also argued, again, as you can infer from some of the tweets, that, okay, the major challenge has to do with implementation. How then do we begin to overcome the hurdles of implementation? If the devil is in implementation, how do we get rid of that monkey off our back?
Thank you, Kingsley. Having listened to all the conversations, including the tweets, I think, like you said, everybody nails it to implementation. Who is implementing what? I think at the highest levels, the decision-making levels in politics and at the offices, the chairman, whether they are politically appointed or they rose to the ranks through hard work and long service, who are the implementers? They should, like you asked, encourage some research into how effective the efficiency of the Federal Character Commission or the Federal Character Program in Nigeria. Having been 20 years and above, we need to have a robust study on the effectiveness of that. People have said that implementers are not following the guidelines. Laudable projects put in, embedded in our constitution, but then implementation is the problem. Do we need people from outside, independent, researchers to go around the 36 states plus Abuja to do a thorough job without looking at any political leanings or any ethnic gratifications? We need to do something. And then from their recommendations, we know how to move the commission and the program forward. It is sad that you go to other countries, developed economies, people who have lived there for some years, have acquired their residency or residential status, are treated, well, equally or relatively so with everybody. Then you come back to Nigeria. I am from Bauchi State. I have lived in River State for 20, 30 years, or all the years of my life, yet I do not see myself as a River State person. I am not regarded as one, and when I make applications or apply, look for opportunities, such opportunities are denied because I am originally from a different part. It is really, really sad, and we need to address this fundamentally and make sure that the implementers follow
the right thing.
Agreed criteria without looking at their political leanings or cultural background or religious, whatever considerations that have marred the effectiveness of this project.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Rosemary Okoli. And now let's return to Lagos, to Professor Afolabi. Sir, your final thoughts in all of this. You have heard everybody, and we have also heard you. What's your final thought? How do we redefine federal character principle in this country?
Thank you very much. We just have to look at the root of the problem. It's quite historical, from the days of Lord Lugard to the way we've been agitating for equity. I think we must revisit the topic you treated last week. Citizenship, residency, federal character. This should be placed in the front burner of discussion, and we should really devote time, quality time, to honestly and professionally and also politically look at all of these three issues and come up again with our best to allow everybody to belong, allow everybody to have a sense of achievement, allow everybody to have the sense that meritocracy will really, really be the key thing to getting Nigeria to where it should be. Thank you.
Well, sir, thank you indeed for your contributions to Good Morning Nigeria today. It's been wonderful talking to you there in Lagos. All right, back to Abuja here. We really have to go to Dr. Adibe, you know, you've had everybody. You have everybody. Now your final take.
I just want to, part of the final take is a linkage involving citizenship, residency rights, which was one of the propositions our guest had last week, and now the avoiding the deleterious effect of the application of the federal character principle.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I have a different position on the tension between indigeneity and citizenship. I'm not among those who believe that if you've lived in a place for 35 years, you automatically become an indigene. Indigeneity is a different thing. Your citizenship right gives you all the benefits, most benefits. If you really apply that, as some people say, it creates its own problem.
No, what the suggestion was for residency rights.
Residency rights.
Rights, yes.
Okay.
Citizenship, residency rights, and federal character.
Yes, if you reside in a particular place and people who believe they are the indigenes of that area, let's say, for example, you've stayed in Lagos for 35 years and suddenly you want to go and run for an election, it creates the whole problem of demographic changes. Because the problem is that it is only being applied to one section of the country. Often, those people that are applying it do not apply it in their home states. And if you look at Jos, that's part of the problems. And people, when they talk about this residency, if, for example, you take moves, you lived in the UK, you're mentioning, for 50 years, you can be British but never English. Unless you consciously leave your comfort zone, you behave like them. Become part of them so that they will say, you are one of us, and that thing will not arise. But if you move into an area, you were 35 years there, you maintain your identity from where you came around, then the people will continue to see you as different from them. And for as long as you want to take a right that belongs to them, it will create its own problem. But let me just say that I believe that part of the problems of, I sympathize sometimes with the Federal Character Commission because there will be issue of political interference. There is even the assumption that is only a particular part of the country that's a monopoly over merit. There is even also this mistake that we forget that what we call merit is a relative term. As the chairman mentioned, we say your aptitude is important, but it's your attitude that determines your altitude. In other words, despite your Harvard education and everything, the chairman of the commission can find out that somebody with a third-class degree is better suited to perform a particular task and employ that person. And that goes around the world. So we need first of all a robust explication of what really do we mean by this federal character. Because as I said, some people throw it around, confusing it with certain other concepts like proportional representation, quota and all that. We have to know what. And then also citizens be able to empower the FCC to be able to resist political pressures. But I don't expect that if orders come from above, that ABCD should be employed, that the acting chairman will say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Federal Character Commission, are you cornering jobs?
Well,
in terms of recruitment, that's one of the questions asked in our tweets. Very briefly, sir.
This is one of the misunderstandings people normally make. But let me make it absolutely clear that Federal Character has no business. It's not a recruiting agency. It's only a regulatory agency that to make sure that steps given in the Federal Character principles are being followed in terms of recruitment and in terms of engaging people into public offices. And also let me collect one impression. The only organization from our studies that have today been very stable and comprises almost all parts of the country, we are not saying every organization have 36 states employed. No, we are saying that there is a minimum of a certain number of states that are there in that organization. And if you look at the military, for example, all over the years, they have been very consistent in the way they recruit people. But we don't care how they promote, and we don't end up in knowing who becomes a general or who becomes a colonel. That is not our business. Our business is to ensure that, yes, at entry point, certain people, certain class of people, certain groups who are interested are being employed across the country. That is basically the thing. But one thing I have to point out is that we conducted a small research and look at all the states to see whether these states have certain kind of norms that allow every Nigerian to participate in those states based on this thing. Lagos State, for example, if you look at the civil service of Lagos State or look at the parastatal of Lagos State, you find all Nigerians, whether Hausas or Yorubas or Igbos or whatever it is, working in that civil service, and then it's part of the government of the policy of the government. And it's one of the very stable civil service positions in the country. And come to Kano also, you also find out that people from different parts of the countries participating in even political positions. You find councillors coming in from different parts of Nigeria participating in
How much of this information do you have out there in the public domain with regard to the outcome of your research studies? And then also the question I asked earlier, amplified by Dr. Okoli, effectiveness of federal character application, federal character principle application in federal institutions.
You see,
effectiveness.
We normally conduct interactive sessions every 3 months with all the MDS, and then to explain clearly to them the principles of federal character and how it is being done. And we also expect them to behave the same way. But as Hilate pointed out, there are so many cutting corners and all these things coming around and interfering with some of these things. But it takes time, and that was the reason why initially says there must be a change of attitude, and they must respect the nation itself, the interest of the nation first, before coming into any other interest. As long as people who are in position will now take the interest of the nation first, before their own parochial interest, then it is there that we can now implement the federal character principles.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a worthwhile conversation on a very, very topical issue this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. And at this point, we'd like to thank the acting chairman of the Federal Character Commission, Dr. Shetima Bukar Abba, for, of course, being part of the show this morning. Thank you very much, sir. And as well, Dr. Rosemary Okoli, a social worker. You've been it's been so exciting talking to you this morning on this very issue.
Thank you very much,
and,
Kirian.
Yes, and our friend from the university, Nasarawa State University, Dr. Jirofo Adibe. Your contribution has been very insightful. Thank you indeed. You're still on Good Morning Nigeria, coming to you on the network service of the NTA. We'll take yet another break. We'll be back in a moment.
worth waiting for. Reconnect your old SIM and we'll give you 6,000 Naira airtime. Also enjoy 8 times bonus on every e-top-up recharge.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
All right, you're welcome back. Now we're going back to our Lagos network studios where we're being joined by officials of Globacom who are right there to talk about some of the latest packages and products of the telecoms outfit. That's for the purpose of its diverse customers. We have first Adebola Omoboya, who is the Zonal Business Director for Globacom in Lagos. There are 3 guests, as we said, there in the studios, and then Odafe Akeredola, who is Globacom's Senior Manager, Devices and Partnership, as well as Korode Bello, a Glow Ambassador, who's famous for Now God to Win. Gentlemen, a pleasure to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very
much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Kingsley, let's begin by asking them to let us know the major benefits of the new Glow Welcome Back offer, which a customer cannot afford to miss, as you said.
Thank you very much, Kirian. The Welcome Back offer is for customers who have left the network for over 30 days. And there are many reasons why customers may have left. You may have lost your phone, and then, you're able to do is a line replacement immediately, but maybe it takes a while to buy the handset. Then, you may also have traveled out of the country where you're out of network coverage, or for some other reason, you may not have been on a network for over 30 days. Now, when you come back to the network, when you put your SIM in a phone, the network recognizes that you are back, and you get an SMS welcoming you back and informing you that you have a 6,000 Naira bonus on Glow. You can confirm that bonus by dialing #122*34#, and you will see that you have 6,000 Naira on your account waiting for you to enjoy. All you need to do to enjoy that bonus is to recharge any amount from 100 Naira. If you recharge 100 Naira, you get 600 Naira benefits, and if you recharge 1,000 Naira and above, you get the full 6,000 Naira benefit. So that's what it is in a nutshell. It's for people that have been away from us for a while. Like you saw in the last advert, we're trying to give them a warm welcome when they come back to the network.
All right. There's also the issue with regard to what you described as the cheap and quality data by way of the Glow free data offer. What exactly are we seeing here that is different from what you already have? We'll take this question to Odafe Akeredola. Let's get your views on this.
Yeah, the Glow Free Data Day actually is a day of free data for all Glow customers who meet our set threshold. The threshold is very simple. You need to have used 250 Naira in the past 7 days, either for making calls or 150 Naira for making calls and 100 MB data. When you do that, over 7 days, you qualify to enjoy free data day. What it is basically is a way of giving back to our customers who have been with us. While the welcome back offer I talked about earlier rewards customers who are coming back, the free data day is for all customers who have been on a network. It's like a surprise thing where Glow just says, okay, tomorrow is free data day. So those that have qualified will be notified that you are qualified for free data day tomorrow, or whenever we announce the date, and then you will enjoy free data. That's what it is basically. It's as simple as that.
All right, let's talk to Adebola Omoboya, the Zonal Business Director for Globacom in Lagos. GSM operators oftentimes come up with some business slangs. Now, tell us more about the Glow Sharp e-top-up. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Thank you very much. The essence of e-top-up is to promote electronic, just like we have your cashless Nigeria. we're basically trying to promote electronic recharge cards, basically. So what we're doing is that for every time you recharge 100, we just give you 8 times. So if you do the electronic way, as opposed to actually going to the streets to buying your normal physical recharge cards. And how can you do the electronic way? You can do it via ATM, you could do it via POS, you could do it via, we have an application called Glow Cafe, you could do it via the Glow Cafe, and so on and so forth. There are numerous channels. There's also *805# on your telephone. So if you do *805 on your telephone, it takes you through a list of your bank, how much, etc., etc. So the in a nutshell is basically trying to bring electronic ways of recharge. And to promote that, we're saying that, okay, if you charge 100 naira, I give you 8 times, and that's it in a nutshell.
Well, still with you, Adebola, what is the product we call the self-care application, the Glow Cafe? How does it work? What are the features?
Glow Cafe is an application. It's basically an Android/iOS application. It allows you to recharge. It allows you to look at the history of what you've done. It has stuff like music, video, games, that kind of stuff. It's all basically like an Apple Music store, sort of fused into one, where you have your, you can do your music on it, you can do your videos on it, you can do your gaming. And then in addition your recharge, you could subscribe to data, you could give somebody else data, and so on and so forth. So it's just like a one-stop shop, basically, for global comms, for your entire account. In addition to that, you can also do other stuff like videos and music and gaming, etc., etc. So that's it in a nutshell, basically. Yeah.
All right, let's talk to Korede Bello, a Glow ambassador. Mr. Godwin, my friend, you've been very good in the music scene lately. And what is your interest in Glow? What does Glow offer that made you to take up that ambassadorial position for that company?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria. Glow offers a lot. Glow offers a lot. But besides a lot, Glow is a truly Nigerian brand. And I, apart from being an ambassador, I like to, be identified with, truly indigenous brands, especially because we need to begin to promote our own. And also, Glow is an employer of labor. I mean, you need to see the staff strength and the amount of young people that, that are gainfully employed. So besides that, also, data is very, very, very important for young people these days. I don't know if you know, but data is very, very, very key. And young people love data, and Glow offers that. Glow is grandmaster of data, as you can see from the ads. So Glow offers a lot of goodies. Like you rightly said, the Glow Cafe is a one-stop shop for everything entertainment as well, and different platforms that are very, very well enjoyed.
So, Korede Bello, just to restate the point, what exactly is the number of your fans telling you about Glow?
What are they telling me about Glow? Or why are they telling me about Glow?
Telling you about Glow. I mean, you're a Glow ambassador, so what are they telling you as an ambassador? What are you picking up from amongst your fans with regard to the company and its products?
To be honest, especially online, a lot of people tweeting me stuff. They want free data. To be honest, they want more leverage. They want to be able to load 100 naira and get 5,000 naira worth of data. In some locations, they want the attention of Glow to be, the service to be stronger, and in some other locations, they want the musical activities and the shows that we bring on, like the Glow Mega Music Tour, which is a nationwide entertainment platform powered by Glow, of course, which has different artists and superstars, actors involved. They want, you know, us to come close, to come to their location. So most of the time we get them say, please Glow, please bring Corridor to Nasarawa, please bring Corridor to Benin, please bring Two-Face to this. So most of the times they want that kind of engagement. And Glow, you know, is one of the only service providers that offers fans that kind of artist-fan engagement, because normally even we artists, most of the times we're, you know, booked abroad, we're booked, you know, here, there. Glow is the only one that, you know, takes us directly to the fans in accessible areas, places that we wouldn't, you know, normally just go, but they take us there. I mean, we go to the grassroots people and feel the raw love and the crude, you know, fans that, you know, that genuinely want to see us. So that's one of the things that Glow does.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let's get back to Odafe Akeredolu, Globacom Senior Manager. Now, Glow is, as you put out in your advertorials, that it is the grand master of data. What are you talking about here? There are other GSM operators, you know. So what makes your own data access, you know, thick? And besides that, this issue of unsolicited messages, is Glow actually involved in that? Because many customers really, they detest such unsolicited messages.
For the questions, first of all, regarding being grandmasters of data, it comes from our backbone. Remember, we were the first operator to bring internet into the country via submarine cable, all the way from Europe and the Americas. So that submarine cable, Glow 1, serves as the backbone for all our internet services. Beyond that, we also are currently building the largest LTE network across the country, not only the major cities, but almost every city today has LTE service courtesy of Glow. And of course, we also have the most affordable data plans. So that makes us grandmasters. And it wasn't a title we attributed to ourselves. It was what the public felt, and also the regulator. And, you know, they also recognize us as the fastest growing data network. So, you know, that makes us grandmasters of data. And part of what's has inspired us to go into this free data day thing that we're talking about, where we will reward customers with data for a whole day. So that demonstrates our grandmaster title. Now, on the issue of unsolicited SMSs, it's a problem that we have successfully tackled as an operator. We have worked closely with the regulator to ensure that customers do not get charged for services they did not subscribe for. If and where that happens and the customer complains, we take immediate action to ensure that the customer is not already refunded, but, you know, that act is stopped. But like I said, in Glow, it has been reduced to the barest minimum since we started getting complaints.
Just wondering, Mr. Akeredolu, you're talking about Glow stopping unsolicited subscriptions. I still get that. I get charged. I saw my phone the other day. They charge 20 naira a day for some video subscription that I don't know anything about.
Like I said, it's something we take very seriously. In fact, there is a short code which we recently commissioned, code 8888. If you have any of those things, just send stop to that short code 8888, and it will be addressed. If you can't get through, if you feel the SMS is not fast enough, you can call our customer service, and immediately it will be addressed. And even if you don't want to call, remember the Glow Cafe app that Adebola talked about. If you download that app, there is direct access to customer service on that app. Any complaints you have, you go to the app. There's no waiting time. Once you get into the app, you click customer care, immediately are chatting with somebody. So again, that's another quick way to address some of these things when they come up.
Ademola Omoboya, your last thought now. This is the final question for all of you there. Why should, for instance, why should I migrate from where I am to Glow?
Okay, that's a very good question. First thing, obviously, that you would want to get from any operator is service. And so we have service nationwide. We have very good service, and also generally you realize that in today's environment, data is the future, and Globalcom is investing heavy, has invested, like Daffy mentioned earlier. We have our own submarine cable all the way from United Kingdom to Nigeria. So we've invested heavily on data. That's number one. And we are still investing on data. And data is the future. So with an LTE network that can do stuff like about 20, 30 meg download, it sort of makes sense to be able to move from, maybe a slower network to a faster network where you can do HD video, or, on the fly, and so on and so forth. Additionally, we are also investing on the network itself. Apart from the fact that we're actually doing a lot of stuff on data, we're doing a lot of work in the background to ensure that our networks, the availability of our networks and the quality of our networks are high. And so if you take, and also, additionally, again, we're also an indigenous company. We promote our local industry. Like, for instance, Korede mentioned the fact that we have the Glow Laughter Fest. We also have the music tour. And the essence of that is to, sort of tell our customers, thank you very much for being with us, and also to promote our local industry. So in addition to, just like you are my subscriber, and I'm asking you to come to us as a subscriber, we're also helping the local industry. We're going to get the likes of Korede Bello, the likes of Two-Face, and so on and so forth, and actually promoting them, and also, rewarding our customers. So if you look at the fact that we've invested a lot in data, and we are the grandmasters of data. The voice is, everybody does voice, and the fact that we're indigenous, I think, I think those are reasons why I think you should be able to move from wherever you are and come to Glow, which is the best network as of today. Thank you very much.
All right, that's Adebola Omoboya, Zonal Business Director for Globalcom in Lagos. I would like to appreciate your being with us on the program today. We also would like to thank Odafa Keredola, who is Globalcom's Senior Manager of Devices and Partnership, plus Korede Bello, a Glow Ambassador. Gentlemen, you all joined us from our Lagos Network studios. We appreciate your time this morning. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's go over down to the Weather Center to check out the weather prospects for the rest of